Welcome to Generations, a program for seniors, people who know seniors, or people who someday are going to become seniors. I'm David Lopaco. I'll be the moderator for this episode of Generations. And today we've chosen a topic that I think most people can warm up to pretty readily, and that is the topic of photography, which is something that as seniors we become interested in, if for no other reason than to store many of our memories that have great meaning to us. And those images that we have in photos become very important as a record of our life and our accomplishments, people we've known, things we've experienced, things we've felt. And so photography is not only a great creative enterprise that anybody can be involved in these days, especially with iPhones and smartphones, but it's just something that it will always last and come back to you as something that you want to return to look at those images. And in fact, we've arranged for all of the co-hosts today, who are Mike Rosberg, Rashida Jenkins, Nadia Giordana, and Barbara Lavalure, who are all going to, we'll introduce them one at a time, but they're all going to bring some photos, show us some photos that they have taken, and talk a little bit about their experiences with photography and images that they have captured on film or on digitally on iPhones. So first of all, let's go to Mike Rosberg. Mike, do you want to talk about photography for you and share some of the photos that you have done?
Sure. Yeah, I took photos occasionally for a long time. And then about 20 years ago, I just became fascinated by what happens in reflections, both in water and in glass. And so I actually literally went to Las Vegas twice just for the purpose of taking photographs. And here are a couple of them. Those are, some lights near ponds or a water feature. And here's another one like that. And finally, when it gets, I really like a photo, it becomes really big. And so there's one about that size. Uh, and then another thing I did is try to aim at something where I'm painting what I had taken a photograph of to make some sort of greater permanence of it. And so there is this painting, which is actually a painting of two buildings in downtown St. Paul, one reflected in the windows of another. So reflections are fascinating to me. They look almost like a combination of reality and abstraction, and that's what I'm aiming for when I take so many pictures these days. And one other comment I'd make is when I'm out taking photographs, I really seem to click with other people. Thoughts?
Well, thank you for that atrocious pun at the end there, Mike. But clearly you are into reflections. And in fact, one of the things about Mike that the rest of you may not know is that he does take his photos and put them into books periodically. And that's something that with various companies that do that sort of thing, you can capture a lot of your images and put them in a book. And it's kind of a nice thing to do. Well, thank you, Mike, for getting us going on this. Rashida Jenkins, how are you doing? And anything you want to say about photography and any photos that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I am well. Thank you, David. I enjoy taking photos, one, because they're great memories, and two, because I'm very creative. So, what I do is I'll take a picture. Now, this is a picture of my son on his ninth birthday, which is his golden birthday. And it's hard to see because what I did is I turned it into a postcard. And so I added some words that I thought were very important from the Bible. And then I made art out of it. And so I put it on a canvas. And this is just a regular canvas you could pick up from any, art store. I painted the canvas first. And then I like to use something called Mod Podge. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mod Podge, but it is a water-based sealer. And so what I'll do is I'll take the picture and I'll put it on the canvas and then I'll put the Mod Podge over it, which preserves it. So it becomes a piece of art. And so then I gave this to my son on his ninth birthday, which is also his golden birthday because his birthday is May 9th. And it's a gift that he sits in his room and he can just look at. he's 11 and he's a boy, so he probably don't care too much about it. But I thought it was important because it preserves the memory of his golden birthday. And so that's what I like to do with photography. I like to change it and make it into art. If you can see the picture behind me, like Mike, I also painted this picture here of a young lady. So art is very expressive, and photography is one way that I use to express my art.
Thank you very much, Rashida. Next, we turn to Nadia Giordana. Nadia, how are you doing today, and what photos do you have to share with us?
I'm doing well, and it's going to be a tough act to follow. Those two prior, Rashida and Michael, had some very artistic approaches to photography. I'm a little along a more practical nature, but I do have two photos to share with you. The first one, I'll get this up here. This was a family picture, and that's my mother and my husband and myself. And of course, it was the holidays. And what I was trying to do, it is a posed picture, but it's a fun picture. We're kind of relaxed. We're cutting up. We're all wearing berets, so it just made it more of a fun picture, and a little more likely that we would go back to it and look at it again rather than the three of us standing against a wall or some draperies. The lighting is good. It was indoors and used a flash. And the reason I mentioned lighting is I have another photo taken a lot longer ago. This was taken with a film camera. And this was on a bright sunny day. I set up the photo, and then I had someone else snap the picture. But the one thing that I ran into, it was a bright sunny day, which is not the greatest thing for taking photos outdoors because the sun is too bright, too harsh. It was all I had. And as you can see in the face, there's harsh shadows. The darks are too dark and the lights are too light. Had this been a cloudy, bright day, the lighting would have been diffused as if I had used a flash. And the other thing is, if you're close enough to your subject, you actually can use a flash outdoors on a bright sunny day if you want to avoid that. Most people think, oh, it's cloudy, let's not take pictures. That's actually a good time to take photographs.
Mhm.
So those are the two things that I have. Any comments or questions?
Any comments or questions for Nadia?
Well, I just have to say, as a professional photographer, you're right about using flash in harsh sunlight. That always diffuses the picture, especially if you're using a film camera or a digital camera as it is these days. And you can also do that on your smartphones.
Yeah. And of course, there's a lot of things you can read about photography and how to make your photos better. One that I took a photography course like 50 years ago, and I remember almost nothing from it. But one of the principles that I do remember is to try to fill the frame. And often you'll see, someone will have like a little head in front of a big lake or something, and 7/8 of the image is the lake, and they are in a little pinhead at the bottom of the picture. And it's like you got to fill the frame, that if your focus is going to be on that person, presumably you want to make sure that they have a prominent place in the image that you're taking. And a lot of times people don't fill the frame very well. Anything else before we move to Barbara? Well, Barbara Lavallure, how are you doing? And I think you have a different way of sharing these photos, so I'll just send it to you.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm really pleased to be here today because the photography has been my life for the last, about 60 years. And I'd like to share my screen. I need to have someone enable the screen so I can share my screen. just let me know when that is. So I've been an international photojournalist for over 5 decades, probably, no, 55, 58 years. And so for me, obviously, it's not a hobby. However, I did start out at the age of 18 taking my first news photograph with a Kodak Instamatic of President Kennedy, and he's about that big in a picture about that size. However, it did give me the juices flowing. Can I share my screen now? Yes, great. Okay. So for Mike, it was reflections, and for me, it's patterns. I love patterns. I'm gonna just see if I can move this over. So this is a picture taken in Edina, where I live, of an eclipse, and it was in an area where the library, where a lot of people were gathered to watch this eclipse because they'd advertised that they had these self-made glasses that protect your eyes. My thing is repetition. I love repetition, and as you can see, the repetition is clear. I have filled the frame, as David suggests, with the bodies of these little children. I think that one of the things that makes this picture is the little boy in blue who is so excited about the eclipse, and also the girl next to him who has the thumbs up. So I just found this really a fun photograph, and I offered it to the Sun Current, the Edina Sun Current, and they did publish it. So let's see, I'll just get rid of this one. And this one, well, no, I want to show this one first. So this as well, the Mendenhall Glacier in Alaska. This picture was taken a few years ago because the Mendenhall Glacier has melted a lot. But again, all three of my photographs, I was using a Nikon camera with a telephoto lens. This also fills the frame, and I think what makes this picture is this canoe or this boat that just happened to be there. I was standing on rocks quite a distance away, but I love the subdued colors of the blue and gray. So, and let's see, this is my last one. I'm going to screen share on that. Can you see this one?
It kind of went away. I don't know what you just did.
Well, there's my screen. I've never had a problem with this screen sharing before. So let's see. I'm going to stop out and I'm going to go share again. I apologize.
It was a beautiful picture, by the way.
Thank you. All right. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. This was a really challenging photograph. I wanted to take a photograph to encourage people to vote. So I knew one of these dancers. They were all friends, had just finished their college degree in a dance program. And so we got them together at Centennial Lakes in Edina. And the challenge was taking the photograph at the precise time when these two women let go of their hands so that they would shape the V and have their hands to the side. This was not a problem. Getting this woman with her legs that way at the same time as this was also a challenge. And then these were easy as well. But I probably took, I don't know, 10 shots to get this one. And this too was actually published in the Sun Current. I'll stop sharing now. I love sharing my photographs, and I don't get paid when I send a photograph into the Sun Current, but I really enjoy sharing my photographs. And I too have done probably 15 photo books just for my own purpose. And I enjoy looking at those and sharing those. Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions or comments?
That iceberg photo was just awesome. I thought it was quite amazing. But other thoughts?
Thank you.
Barbara?
I have to agree.
It's wonderful that you send in to local papers, and I know you're a professional, but others like us amateurs probably are afraid to send photos in. But if we have a really good one, what have you lost if you've sent something in and a local paper gives you the honor of publishing it? What a delight that would be.
Absolutely. And sometimes I send it into like Care 11 because they'll show those during the weather, especially a weather photograph. I encourage anybody and everyone to send their photos into their favorite network and also local newspaper. They're either going to be printed or not. You have nothing to lose, like you said, Nadia. Thank you. Ashita, I think you had a comment or question.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that that iceberg was simply amazing, and I feel like there was patterns like you talked about, you know, in the ice.
And
Really
Thank you.
I just wanted to quickly comment that I really liked that vote picture and the way you had that structured. And I myself, form the T very often. It helps keep me limber.
Very good. And if David, if I could just give one tip to our viewers, the best tip that I can give, and I give it freely, is like when you're taking photographs of your friends or your relatives, and they're in front of some big background, like the Eiffel Tower, for example, you want the person or the people an arm's length away only. The Eiffel Tower is going to show the Eiffel Tower, but you want to have people from basically the waist up so that they show up large. You don't want them at the base of the Eiffel Tower and you're 100 feet back. So that's my tip for the day.
Okay, good tips. I guess that, at least for the moment, takes care of our co-host. There was some notion that I would do the same thing. So I guess I better follow suit here and talk a little bit about photography for me. The show did force me to think about what is it in a photo that attracts you, or why do you do them? And I thought that I picked out three, although it was really hard to do given all the photos that we've all taken. But it seemed to me that a photo ought to be, for me, personally significant is one thing, or makes a statement, or alters my sense of reality. And so I've got one example of each of those things. In terms of something that was personally significant, after I graduated from college, I never had been out of the United States. I decided I really should fix that. I bought a round trip flight to Madrid, Spain, and a 7-week Eurail pass and wandered around Europe for 7 weeks. And of the nations that I was in, including Switzerland, I thought Switzerland was just idyllic. It was so pretty and so peaceful. And I was on a boat that was going on Lake Lausanne in Switzerland, and the boat stopped at a dock and picked up some students who were leaving their school, primary level students, elementary students. And this was like their school bus was the boat. And so here we are on the boat, and the sun is getting low in the sky. It's late in the afternoon. And so here they are, and they're looking over at the swans that are there. And you see the lake, and you see the sky beginning to get more like dusk. And there was a sense of peacefulness and just sanity to it that has always kind of hung with me. 50 years later, I still remember that image, that feeling of being in a place where everything made sense and nothing was crazy or wild or stupid or violent. And so I've always treasured that image because it means a lot to me personally, that in that moment I was able to experience that. And I've been able to hang on to that because I have a picture of it. The second one is something that makes a statement. A number of years ago, a long, long time ago, actually, I was just wandering around what used to be the South St. Paul stockyards. And I happened upon this. I think the lettering may come out backwards, I'm not sure. But this was the hog unloading chutes. And right there in front was a dead hog. And I thought, well, isn't that fortuitous in a grim sort of way? But I thought, this says something. Here is the reality of the stockyards. There is a dead hog in front of it. And it just reminds you of what the stockyards are all about and what they're for. And so that one kind of, I always am attracted to that only because it seems to make a statement that's kind of hard to ignore. The third type of photo that I sort of like is anything that alters your reality. And obviously Mike is our specialist in that with his reflection things. But if you've ever been to the Franconia Sculpture Park in the St. Croix area, they have these sculptures this particular one, it has these mirrors that are set in the fields. And so you're looking at reflections of things and reflections of reflections. And I just thought, I keep looking at this and trying to figure out, well, where is the reality here? What is actually in my field of vision and what is actually a reflection from one of these mirrors? And it's a fascinating place to go because it really does alter your sense of reality of what's what. And I have a number of those that I look at and kind of wonder about, but I think it's one of the more memorable parts of the Franconia Sculpture Park. So those are three images that I picked out, but it was really hard to focus on just a couple of them. Any questions, comments about those, or should we just open it up more generally to photography? We have about 5 minutes to converse for a bit.
I have a quick comment about the Franconia Sculpture Park and taking photographs. If you haven't been there, definitely go with your camera. They change the installations a couple times a year. Each installation is up for a period of months. I don't know how long you'd have to call. And it really is a photographic wonderland. And a great place to go when you want to do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other thoughts about photography?
Well, one question I might just ask the panelists is, do you have any recollections of your parents taking pictures, say, way back when in the 50s or something like that? The one thing I remember in particular is my father would go down in the basement. He would somehow or other expose a piece of photo paper to the picture he took, and then he would put it in a tray of chemicals. And the picture would sort of slowly come forward and appear in black and white. So I can't explain that. I remember it though, and I'm sure because my father was interested in photography, that's part of how I became interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
in
a
the
dark
20s, I
room.
actually had a dark room in my mom's basement. So I used to develop film, use the enlarger and all that. It was a very laborious process. Nadia, what were you going to say?
I was going to say he had his own dark room. That was quite the hobby back in the day, and I think it's enjoying a resurgence, both film photography and developing film.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that, photography has come a long way. I remember having those disposable cameras and taking pictures, sending it in to get it, developed and waiting. And then when they come back, you realize somebody had their finger over the camera lens or, the faces were blurry. And now, you can look at your phone when you take the picture and get it right each time. So I
Yeah.
just love the ways that it's changed and evolved over the years.
Yeah. Barbara, did you have something to add?
Yes, I all of my my working life, I was using a Nikon camera, so I developed and printed my own. And I lived in Europe for 20 years, and the last several 18 plus years were in Germany. And I ended up freelancing full time for 7 German newspapers, and I was developing my own prints. I would get in a zone when I was in the darkroom. I loved the darkroom and the smell of the chemicals. And sometimes I had 20 assignments in an evening, and they were in different villages that were a few kilometers apart. So it was like a madhouse to go back and develop and print my pictures for the newspaper. Today it would be, literally a snap, Michael. It really would be easier.
Yeah. And of course, film. In the old days, I showed you one image from Switzerland. What I didn't tell you was I was going to be very cost conscious. And on that 7-week trip, I took 3 36 exposure rolls of Kodachrome with me. I had 108 images. that I had.
Wow.
I had to be very selective about what I took photos of, and it was kind of good discipline. But these days with a smartphone, you can whip out 24 photos of somebody and pick out one that really works better than the others. And it's a freedom that you have that is kind of amazing. Nadia, what were you going to say?
What used to be really fun, almost like discovering a treasure, is to go in your drawer where you kept your camera and pull it out. It's been in there for a few months, or in the case of my parents on occasion, a few years, and find an undeveloped roll of film, and the excitement of the discovery of finding out what's on this roll of film. Where was it? Where were they? What were they doing? What's going to be on this roll of film? And with a little luck, there would be a treasure in there on those photos.
Yeah. Well, in our final minutes, Barbara, is there something you'd like to add?
Well, I was just going to say, I have over 23,000 photographs on my computer. And when I went to Cuba on a mission trip with my church a few years ago, I think I took about 3,000 pictures, and then I've had several showings of my Cuban photographs, not only at my church, but in other locations, including Iowa and North Dakota and Minnesota. So,
yeah. Well, at any rate, we're down to our final minute or so, and however inelegantly we presented these photos, I hope that it's inspired our viewers to get out there and do some of their own imaging, because it's such a valuable thing to do. It's such a fun thing to do. And these days, it's so much easier than it used to be. And so I think it's time for us to conclude this episode of Generations, and hope that all of you will become photographers as we have. And so until next time, when we'll pursue some other interesting topic, for now, let's call an end, and we'll see you the next time on another episode of Generations.
Could I show one photo I didn't show during the show?
sure.
Guess what this is the photo of?
That looks like an instrument.
I see reflections. Is it
It's
glass?
it's ice cubes. It's ice cubes
Well,
in a drink.
what is it?
Nobody's got it yet.
Well,
Is it a musical instrument? I don't know what it
Yes,
is.
I took it at the Minneapolis Auto Show, and it's the picture of the front headlights of a car.
Oh, I
Oh,
see
sure.
it now.
Nice.
very
So
good.
there was light out here, and I got at an angle, and then I held up a couple of colored pieces of paper, and then a couple other people took interest and helped me out with it. But yeah, I thought that was one I thought was kind of cool. But
So were
Yeah.
you that
I
close, or you
kind of see
zoomed
the
in?
musical instrument
Yeah,
aspect.
it looked like a
of it, yeah.
saxophone or something.